So we just finished going through kind of the basic idea that, look, private property rights are really important for helping us explain growth, prosperity, why countries are rich and why some countries are poor. But we haven't really kind of gotten to the reasons why this is the case, right? So that's why we start here with a question, right? Well, why is this the case? Why is it that countries that have strong private property rights and a good legal system to enforce those rights and a lack of corruption tend to be wealthier countries? Right? Now, it turns out it's because there are some nice incentives in a property rights regime that generally encourage good outcomes, okay? And so we'll go through some of those aspects here, right? So the first aspect, now we'll go through the 4 reasons, but we'll kind of go through them one at a time. The first aspect is pretty basic and pretty simple, okay? Because people can have private ownership, that is, they can exclude others from their stuff, their property, okay? There's the simple idea that, well, if it's mine, I get the benefits. And if it's mine, I have to bear the cost. Right? So there are benefits and costs. Okay, so this is a key aspect, right? So private ownership entails owner gains the benefits, but also has to bear the costs. Okay, so there's a lot of different costs of ownership, right? So if it's a computer, right, so the benefits, they're nice. You can do websites, watch movies, all kinds of things you can do with a computer or an iPad or something like that. Well, what's the cost? Well, I mean, you got to maintain it, you got to charge it, you got to not go to websites where you get viruses downloaded on your computer or get your stuff hacked, right? So there's benefits and costs, right? Or if maybe you're a dog owner, right? So you get the benefits of dog ownership, right? You get a dog that loves you and licks you and wants to play with you, right? Those are the benefits. Well, what are the costs of dog ownership? Well, you gotta feed the dog. You gotta pick up the dog's poop. You gotta clean up after the dog, right? So with anything you can own, there are benefits and there are costs. And the person who owns the dog, the laptop, whatever it is, they're the only ones who get the benefits of the cost, right? Now, that leads us to the second aspect here, okay? Because a private owner is the only one who gets the benefits and the only one who bears the cost, they have a strong incentive to take care of what they own, right? So if I'm an idiot and I don't take care of my laptop, right, I can't blame somebody else. I can't go to you and say, oh, I was an idiot, I destroyed my laptop, could you buy me another one? No, you would say that, you idiot, you destroyed your own laptop. You've got to bear that cost, right? And so if that's the case, I don't have anyone in a sense to bail me out, right? Therefore, if I make a mistake, I pay the cost, right? And as we talked about in chapter 1, people choose purposefully, right? They generally choose to make themselves better off. So if I own something, the choices I make over that thing are generally going to be things that'll make me better off, right? I'm going to take care of the thing, right? I don't want to deal with the costs, right? I like the benefits, so again, I'm going to take care of it, right? And so this is what we see with cars and laptops and houses and all kinds of things we can own. In a property rights system, we tend to take care of them, right? So because I bear the costs and I get the benefits, I have a pretty strong incentive to take care of what I own, right? And the opposite, you can kind of think about how well do we treat things owned by others? Now, if it's a friend or family, a lot of times, we take good care of it because we don't want to disrespect them and so forth, right? But if it's a public bathroom, most times I go in a public bathroom, it has not been well taken care of, right? And when I get a rental car, I definitely treat that rental car not quite as nice as I treat my own car, right? Because it's not mine, it's a rental, right? So I usually turn it back in after renting it. It's got dirt on it, and I have a daughter now, so it's usually full of crackers and kid stuff and trash and so forth, right? So how well do we treat things owned by others? Usually the answer is not as well as we treat our own stuff. Okay, so we gain the costs, we gain the benefits, we deal with the costs, so that gives a strong incentive for us to take care of the stuff we own, because if we screw it up, we bear the cost. It also gives us a strong incentive to take care of stuff for the future, right? So this is our third aspect here, right? Because if I don't take care of my house, then 10 years down the road, I'm living in a dilapidated place. It's going to be annoying to live there, right? If I don't take care of my house and 10 years down the road I decide to sell it, I can't sell it for that much money because I let the foundation be eaten by termites and I let the roof degrade and now it leaks everywhere, right? All these problems with the house means I can't sell it for that much, right? So not only do private property rights encourage me to take care of my stuff now, it encourages me to take care of resources so that I get benefits of that resource in the future, okay? So there's a strong incentive to conserve for the future. And this could be my house, my car. It could also be people who own other resources, right? Like timberland and other natural resources, like coal, right? A lot of times people kind of view the timber industry negatively, right? They're cutting down all these trees, but keep in mind, if we think through this like economists, what would happen to the timber industry if they cut down all the trees and they never planted any new trees, right? They'd go out of business, right? And so the timber industry knows this and wants to make money in the future, which is why they're always replanting. So if you've ever been somewhere where the timber industry has lots of forest land, you'll see every 20, 30 years they'll come through, they'll cut down a bunch of trees in a forest, and then they'll clean it up, and then they'll actually plant a bunch of new trees, right? And then they expect a new set of trees 20 to 30 years in the future, right? So private ownership gives us a really strong incentive to take care of our stuff now and to take care of our stuff and grow the value in the future, okay? All right, the fourth aspect here is that all of this only works if you have a good legal system, right? So private property rights depend 100% on having courts that are not corrupt, That is, the law is implemented fairly, and no one is above the law. Sometimes people call this rule of law. That is, we're all equal before the law, right? We don't treat wealthy people or connected politicians differently, right? We can't buy off our judge, right? So we need courts that are fair, that are not corrupt, and we also need law enforcement, police who are fair and enforce the law. Right? We can't have it such that we can buy off cops, right? Or if we get pulled over, we give the cop a bribe, right? Those of you that have traveled in other countries know that sometimes that's just the way things work, right? I've been to enough countries, done enough surfing around the world to know that, yeah, some countries, if I'm there and I get pulled over, the cop is expecting a bribe, right? But that's not good for economic growth. That's not good for prosperity. Corrupt systems tend to lead to poverty and not wealth, okay? All right. So these kind of, well, I guess 3 reasons, and then the last one is just an important aspect about a legal system, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Really help us understand why private property rights are really important, right? Private owners get the benefits, but also have to bear the costs. Because of that, we have a strong incentive to take care of our stuff. And not only take care of our stuff now, but conserve and take care of it and try to increase the value of it into the future, right? And all of this only works if you have a good legal system, okay? So that's kind of the understanding as to why private property rights are so fundamentally important for markets, for economic growth, etc. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do in Chapter 2 is move on to other topics, and in the rest of this course, we're not really going to spend a ton of time talking about private property rights, okay? But just keep in mind, the reason why we cover this here is that private property rights are necessary for markets to function. When markets don't work, there's usually either a property rights issue or a monopoly, i.e. lack of competition issue, right? Those are usually the prime culprits, okay? So just keep that in mind when we're talking about markets as we go through the various chapters here, that we're generally assuming we've got private property rights and there's no issues with like a monopoly dominating a market, okay?